Hello everyone, welcome to episode 65 of the Made of Things podcast, the podcast version of Made of Things, which is of course made of all sorts of things, mainly in audio and when you're speaking about the podcast, but when you're speaking about the video version of the Made of Things concept, it's not a show, it's a concept. It's not a restaurant, please. It's not a restaurant, it's a concept. Well, go screw yourself with you and your non-food. No, don't screw yourself unless you really want to. Welcome to the show, guys. This is Made of Things, as I said, and surprise, surprise, you just downloaded this or are listening to this on YouTube. This is episode 65. This features. This is going to feature two things. By the way, I'm Antonio Maria Correia, your host, with the most uncut beard. I would say the most uncut beard. Sure. Okay, I'll go with that. Makes little grammatical sense, but still. Okay, so two things. This episode features Club Cheval, who are a French electronic band. They're very good, and we spoke to them almost 2 years ago. Unfortunately, we're really lagging on the podcaster episodes. But the thing is, as I've said in previous, all these intros are sounding the same now. Because I've always seemed to have to justify why things are so late. I have a back hernia, so things are running really late. So I'll keep this very short. But I have a lower back hernia. I apologize. A lower back hernia, and so it's been really delaying past episodes, and so we're mostly focusing on video on the show that's on YouTube. If you're listening to this on iTunes, remember that this particular chat we had with Club Cheval and most of them, actually most of the chats we post on the podcast have already been posted as video with a video version on YouTube, because it's mainly a video show, not necessarily a podcast, as it had started out originally. I apologize again. This is allergy season, so I still have the sniffles just a little bit. So yeah, but before we get to the Club Cheval thing, and there's another aspect that's very important, which is we don't really necessarily talk about very dated things in this show. On the show, I mean, we mostly just do whatever we do, which is not necessarily related to an album. It's just like more of we try to have fun with our guests and try to have them have fun as well, which I think we generally succeed. So, and the feedback has been mostly that. So, unless you're on YouTube and don't understand what we're doing, which is, I don't blame you, it's fine. But okay, sure. What should I address before we get to the Club Cheval thing? I should address two things, which is, one, it's late afternoon here in Lisbon, in Portugal, where we're from, and the birds are chirping. So you might be able to hear a little bit of those, and because it's springtime, and the second one, this should take a little while because as you guys know, I enjoy wrestling. I talk about it every so often. I try to make the show. There's so much wrestling, like with the WWE, and now I'm a fan of New Japan, and New Japan is like beyond amazing in terms of quality and storylines even. But WWE characters are always, not always, but traditionally very fun. So, really bad booking and really insane decisions a lot of the time. But yeah, I try to keep this to the main events, really. Even not that, like, not even that. I mean, I think I only do Royal Rumble, and I mean, not Royal Rumble. Did I? Yes, I did, actually. I did do Royal Rumble. Not this year, though. I think I did it last year. But WrestleMania and SummerSlam usually are the only ones that I address, because I try to make it not very tedious for you guys. If you guys aren't necessarily fans of wrestling, and I have no idea if Club Cheval are fans of wrestling. They're into video games, though, so as you'll find out. So you probably there's a chance that they enjoy wrestling. Still. Anyway, I'm going to talk about WrestleMania, because WrestleMania 34 just happened, and even though it's at this point old news, because you can't really, there's already a Raw after WrestleMania the next day, the following day, so and the following day really really gets things in motion for, you know, really advances storylines and stuff like that. So once WrestleMania is finished, and you have like about 24 hours to speak about the whole thing, and then it's kind of dated already. So, but still, this is my 2 cents. This is my opinion on what happened. So I'm going to try to keep this short. This was a 7-hour long event, which is, by the way too long, WWE. 7 hours, including the pre-show. This is extremely long. So it's like 5 hours and 15 minutes, I think, was the main show, and which is extremely long. And about an hour and a half of the pre-show, which is mostly filler and mostly them trying to get you to subscribe. Okay, so to the WWE Network, I mean, which is the whole app thing, which I have subscribed since the Royal Rumble, and it worked with the Royal Rumble, so because I was like, no, damn it, I'm really going to subscribe this time. Anyway, doesn't matter, you have your own processes. So the main the pre-show, I was stuck watching something else with some other people, and with my family, I guess, not some other people. So I was watching something with my family and couldn't watch it from the get-go. But so I did miss out on the pre-show. So I did not watch Woken Matt Hardy win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. First off, Battle Royals are kind of tedious, most of all, and they really mean nothing, because if you look at Cesaro and Baron Corbin, which were the past winners of this match of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's supposed to give you some momentum moving forward, and this is, I guess, is the general opinion that it doesn't. So look what they did with Cesaro. They took forever to get him, you know, become champion. The champion. We are the champions, ladies and gentlemen. And our friends as well. Okay, so Cesaro, we'll get to Cesaro later, guys, but still, Cesaro won. They took forever to make him champion. Baron Corbin has been US champion, but they've done nothing with him. Matt Hardy isn't necessarily the youngest wrestler in the roster, but on the roster, I mean. But I love the Woken gimmick, and I love what he's done with the past. If you haven't watched Broken Matt Hardy, and even if you don't like wrestling, and if you don't like wrestling, you're probably not really even listening to this, but at this point, but it's really amazing. So it's really creative and really funny and really tongue-in-cheek and really creative, really. So the past things of Matt Hardy, Broken Universe, Broken Brother Nero, Obsolete, Mule, what was it called? Final Deletion. I think that was Ultimate Deletion, Final Deletion first, which was about a year ago, and the Ultimate Deletion just happened with Bray Wyatt. So I'm not going to spoil it for you. You go. If you already heard of this, you probably already know what happened. So, but Bray Wyatt now helped Matt Hardy win the thing. So it means nothing really, but it does mean that at least, it does, I guess, mean that they are doing something with Matt Hardy. And at this point, he's not having the best matches of all time, but he is doing really, really, really fun video packages of crazy lunatic things, and I hope they keep him moving forward, because it's a clear success. It's like millions of views on YouTube, and things are really over. So, apart from the wrestling, which has been, it's been good. Like he's a good worker. So is Bray. So and finally again doing something with Bray Wyatt. So again, Bray Wyatt feels exciting again. So I'm not going to try to not take like 3 minutes with every match, because it'll take forever. Okay, I did not watch the Cruiserweight Championship match between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali for the championship, which is the result of a tournament that's been on for like the past month or so. Which is a really good idea. I haven't really had the time to watch the whole tournament, but I guess I will at some point, because I really love the Cruiserweight Classic 3 years ago, I guess now. 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago? I think 2016 maybe. Again, really, really fantastic. That tournament, really, really fantastic. This one I haven't watched, and I did not watch the match, unfortunately. Everyone says it's really good. Cedric Alexander against Mustafa Ali, so I'll go back and watch that, because you really want to always watch really good matches. And again, kickoff, still during the kickoff during the pre-show, it was the first ever WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. Not the first ever Women's Battle Royal, but the first ever WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. Words, choices, again, choices. If you probably know what this means, maybe. If you don't, go watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Again, the overlap of sensibilities on this show is kind of mind-boggling. Then again, there's a show called The Nobodies that on YouTube, which is two drag queens commenting on wrestling shows, which is actually what I'm doing right now. So I guess the overlap does exist. And if it didn't, then I just created it, but I didn't. So, so wrestling fans, drag fans, and video game fans, I guess, and sports and not sports and whatever. And music and culture, mostly. Music and culture, guys. And music and culture. Sounds so vague. Still, whatever. We like to have fun over here, and art is very important. So, never. Art is the most important thing. Art and love. Still, go back to this. I just really lost track of it now. Okay, so did not watch the women's battle royal. I did watch half of it. So I did not know who half of those people were. Are these women on NXT, or who was the Brazilian girl? Are they new talent from abroad or indie companies or something like that? Because I don't know who those people are. But still, it culminated with Bayley and Sasha, and I thought Sasha was gonna win, but I guess they're too hot. Like the feud, not too hot, but at least there's. It's been a very long feud, and the build-up has been very long. It hasn't even really started yet, because they haven't had really matches against each other that have been very meaningful. But they're teasing that they're turning Bayley heel, and I don't think that's the most intelligent decision, because Sasha is, as we know from NXT, is really good as a heel, like really good bad guy. But and Bayley, I don't remember from NXT that much, so I don't really get Bayley so much, and she's been really squashed. But whatever, and I think she has it in her to be very heelish. Really, she's more likable than really. Sasha can be a really good heel, so they should just go with the obvious money, I would say. But as Naomi won, and I do enjoy Naomi. I think that she doesn't really have the best of characters, which is like mostly a non-character. It's just like no personality. It's just like glowing and dancing. Unfortunately, no, I don't mean nothing. I'm not talking about the girl. I'm talking about just the character, the wrestling character. And for instance, you can understand what Becky Lynch is. Becky Lynch could have just won. Then again, whatever, because if you look at the men's battle royal, then it possibly means nothing still. So whatever. So it was kind of like, well, whatever. I'd much rather have more women's matches than, and I hope they come up with the women's tag team division, more or less, because there's clearly enough women for this now, much like they did with the NXT North American champion. I apologize if I'm not being too clear today. Again, I have a little bit of allergies, and first I think there's a cold sore on my tongue. It's really weird. So I apologize. I sound like Mark Maron back in 2012 or 2013. Like, oh, sorry, I have a cold sore, and maybe it's cancer. It wasn't. Love you, Mark Maron. I haven't heard you recently, but whatever. Again, I'm sidetracking. Whatever. Okay, so finally we get to the main show, and so we start off with the Intercontinental Championship triple threat match with The Miz defending the championship against Finn Balor, or Prince Devitt, and Seth Rollins. Okay, by the way, this is where I'm going to talk about the NXT event. I'm not going to address every single thing, but I did watch the whole thing, the NXT Takeover New Orleans, and I think that strategically, I understand why they do this, like why they put the NXT pay-per-view on the night before the one of the main shows of the main card of the WWE card roster, I mean, and the main roster really suffers from having to go after the NXT Takeover event, the NXT pay-per-views, because and the NXT thing is which is supposed to be developmental, but is honestly, and this is according to, I guess, anyone that watches NXT, which is NXT is way better in terms of quality, in terms of booking, because it makes sense. It's clear what people are, what people's motivations are, and why you should be supporting them and not supporting them, and people don't really, and the characters and superstars and wrestlers don't really do something that's counterintuitive, and much unlike the main roster, and especially it's not necessarily the characters, even though we just had Gargano Ciampa, which was the culmination of years of feuding, really, and even the Andrade Cien Almas versus Aleister Black, I think, was an amazing match, and saying that it's an amazing match, the opener was fantastic with Adam Cole finally winning, not finally, but at least I think the belt is in good hands. and Shayna Baszler was I really liked that match as well, actually. And there was another one. So I said I wasn't going to comment, and I just did. but still, okay. I think that the main roster shows really suffer from having watched NXT before, the night before, which we need to do, because sometimes it really affects the main roster and so the next show. So it's a lot of wrestling, guys. It's like 10 hours of wrestling on one single weekend. Like, it's too much. It's 10 hours. Come on, it's just like do nothing, watch wrestling. Jeez. And because most of the time what I've done is watch the main show and then went back to watch the NXT show and so I don't really get disappointed. But sometimes you get spoilers, and I don't like spoilers. And if you don't like spoilers, don't listen to this episode, because I'm talking about results, guys, which you could already have noticed by now. Okay, so the thing is that Seth Rollins Seth Rollins won. I thought they were going to put the belt on Balor, but Balor doesn't really have any sort of tangible momentum, even though it's relative if you have momentum or not. But I haven't spoken for a while, so my accent's really suffering. But Finn Balor, I think, should be champion of something, because he would really make the belts and the titles valuable, but they don't really know what to do with him. He's just like a very smiley dude, much like with or not much like, but the club would, Gallows and Anderson should be. I hope they draft him to SmackDown, because they're not doing anything with him. Anyway, I'm fine with them going with Seth, because he's finally a Grand Slam champion, and he's actually gaining some traction with with recent performances, and getting back those more impactful moves, and the way he's been booked. Like, it makes sense. Like, I'm fine with Seth winning the triple threat match, and even though I do enjoy Seth Rollins as a heel more, he's finally, I think, getting over as a face. Not so much as a heel, but as he did when he was a heel. But still, I'm fine with this decision. So, and Miz is probably going off and being a good daddy with two. What was the names? Dakota Sky, not the hamster Sky. No, that was a really cool hamster on Instagram. R.I.P. hamster Sky, R.I.P. Sky, and well, I don't remember the name of the baby. Whatever, but go be a good daddy with Maurice. Okay, Ms. Mike. Okay, cool. Now we get to SmackDown's Women's Championship match. Charlotte Flair defending against Asuka, and that's what she did. Like, everyone thought Asuka was going to. Even I thought. By the way, I should point out my guesses of who was going to win, and I got Matt Hardy right with the Battle Royal. Amazingly, I thought they were going to go with Ali for the Cruiserweight Championship, which they didn't, so that's 1 out of 2. I'll tell you. Okay, so it's 1. Mustafa Ali, I thought they were going to go with Becky Lynch, then she didn't. They went with Naomi, so that's I thought they were going to go with Sasha, actually. So just got 1 right. I thought they were going to go with Finn Balor, but they didn't. So it's 1, and I thought they were going to go with Asuka, and because the streak wasn't, I don't think this is necessarily the best time, because what are you going to do with Asuka now? Like, she was supposed to be a threat, and they could have gone and made Charlotte win at next year, whatever, or 2 years later, like in 2 years' time. I mean, it's they've now, what does Asuka mean? Like, they've just turned, you know, like 2 years of storytelling into like this confusing mess of blandness, really. Unless Asuka pins Ronda Rousey, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. Makes her submit, actually. Which isn't going to happen anytime soon. So what are they going to do with Asuka? You know, I love Charlotte as much as anyone. So Charlotte and Asuka are the best, really the best female wrestlers, I think. And but you know, Charlotte didn't need this really so much, and Asuka did. So it's kind of a shame. So I'm okay. I'm always okay with Charlotte having the belt. You know. I'm not okay with her being defined by Ric Flair, but still, I do think that Charlotte is the best female wrestler in WWE of all time, and so far. So, and I do think, you know, I love the Spanish Fly move, and the match was really good, but I think I need to rewatch this because people have been saying that it's been the best women's championship match of all time. This was a SmackDown's SmackDown or Raw, but this was the best of all time, and I don't think it was. I think the best one of all time was Charlotte against Sasha Banks a couple of years ago, and that was Birdies. That one was amazing, and because they straight up went all out and just were really trying to murder each other. I think like it's just like Charlotte was, you know, had Sasha, I distinctly remember this, had just threw Sasha like carelessly, like, screw you, Sasha, go fuck yourself, like, blah. I don't care what happens to you, like, argh. And Charlotte is better as a heel as well, I think. Still, moving on, we're like half an hour in, guys. I apologize, it's going to take a little while. United States Championship Fatal 4-Way match, which was Randy Orton defending against Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev, accompanied by Aiden English. So Rusev Day, really. I thought Bobby Roode was going to take this. I think they were going to do the have the belt jump back and forth, but there's always a risk when it's WrestleMania and when, like, much with John Cena, that Randy Orton, who is really one of the best and workers, I mean, he's just extremely talented, and just like effortlessly doing everything, like just born into it, but very tedious as a face, and amazing heel, but as a face he's I think he does really nothing. So, but you know, much like with John Cena, there's always a chance that he's going to win at a big event, and so there was a chance of Randy Orton keeping this. I never thought they were going to go with Rusev, even though that's what I would have loved, because unfortunately the WWE creatives don't really know what to do with Rusev Day, which is like, do nothing, just let them do whatever, because they succeed. Rusev is fantastic. Aiden English has got himself over doing virtually, you know, singing on very little time. Like, he hasn't been in the ring, it's been in promos, and Rusev can do just basically anything amazingly. Like, he can destroy, you know, Rusev Machka, and he can be really, you know, a menace in the ring, and then tennis in the spring. No, oh, that was terrible. I can't speak or think today. This is really affecting me, guys. And Rusev has been and misunderstood, and has really excellent comedic timing, by the way. So dude makes most things really funny, and I much less expected it to go back to Jinder Mahal, because what are you going to do with Jinder Mahal? I don't know, really, seriously. Again, we have Jinder Mahal against Randy Orton, but now for the US title, I mean, or Jinder Mahal against Bobby Roode again, or we have Jinder Mahal versus Rusev. You know, again, who cares? Because I hope that they make Rusev win the title, because it's about fucking time, dude. Like, dude should be, you know, champion of something already. Really, because it's a missed opportunity when you're that over on your own, and Lord knows you can't do that in the WWE, but if you're like, how dare you? But it's a missed opportunity of making really huge amounts of money from it. Like, they already are selling out t-shirts. It's insane. Like, I wanted to get a Rusev t-shirt for myself, and they're sold out. Like, don't sell out t-shirts. Like, make more and sell more. Don't sell out anything unless there's physically you're physically incapable of, like, if you can sell out like a festival more or less, or like a show, or like, because you might have and I went to festivals before I went to show, but you can sell out a show much faster than like an individual show than a festival. But still, you can sell out spaces, because there's literally no more room for more people. So, but in terms of merchandise or businesses, if there's demand, there's some charm in saying that, you know, things have sold out, but, you know, make more. People will buy this now, and they might not buy this later. They will buy it now because they're sold out, and so there's literally more people trying to get your product. This is basic economics, guys. So if people want, you know, if a thing is really over, then make it go over even more, or just leave it be, and but reward it, like, because again, that's my point. Okay, mixed tag team match, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. And I'm not going to say too much about this match. I'm just going to say that I loved this. I thought it exceeded the expectations I had. I thought that, you know, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon mostly Triple H always books himself mostly entertaining matches. I'm not going to say always, because there have been quite a lot of duds over the past years. Even recently, even I think 2 years ago, he had a WrestleMania match which was really tedious, and but mostly the booking will go his way. So I thought that what they did with Ronda Rousey was really intelligent. I thought that the finish was obvious, because it was always going to be Ronda just like ripping Stephanie McMahon's arm off. I did think, though, that it was ridiculous that Stephanie McMahon blocked like a UFC fighter, but because even trained UFC fighters, like even top UFC fighters, cannot do that, so that was ridiculous. But still, whatever, it's wrestling, who cares? Not who cares, but it's like it's a little bit too much. But yeah, I think the spots were fantastic. I think the way the match was booked and the way it planned out was planned out, and the way it panned out was played out. That's what I mean. The way it played out was amazing and really exciting. Really, like, one of the best matches of the night for sure, if not the most entertaining one. And that's surprising there was pretty much a non-wrestler, which was Stephanie, and versus a debut wrestler, which was Ronda, and Kurt Angle, who shouldn't be doing any spots, I think. It doesn't look very like one of the all-time greats for sure, and but doesn't look like he should be doing any wrestling anymore, really. And Triple H, who looks $1 million, but isn't the most accomplished of wrestlers, even though it's fucking Triple H and is a huge badass. I think maybe. Is he? I think so. So, plus, really, I have to congratulate him on the way that he's been really managing his products in the WWE. Like, NXT is a work of beauty. Okay, so the next match, I think we're down to the last 5, I think. Okay, Smackdown Tag Team Championship triple threat match. The Usos, who are absolutely amazing, against the New Day, who are absolutely amazing, against the Bludgeon Brothers, who are Harper and Owen, formerly the Wyatt family. And I'm sorry, guys. Especially Luke Harper is extremely talented, and the way they've been booking this is that the Bludgeon Brothers destroy everyone, and that's what they did. So a little bit less than in past weekly shows, but they basically just not completely squashed, but it was an easy win, like I don't know, 3 minutes maybe. At least the Usos were on the main show, which they have never been, which is criminal. And especially in recent years, it's criminal. And I'm fine with the Bludgeon Brothers holding the belts. It's classic booking. I'm down with that. It's fine. Okay, so again, The Undertaker versus John Cena. This was really the match that everyone was expecting. I did not enjoy. There's a lot of things I did not enjoy about this match. I saw Simon Miller of What Culture saying how much he loved it, and I love Simon Miller, and I love the Cultaholic guys, for instance. I think that the way this was booked, like, it was it was obvious because everyone knew that it was going to happen. Really, like, it was pretty much, everyone was expecting it, and then it did, but then it's fine that it does, and then it's kind of exciting that it does, but then the Undertaker things take forever. But there's two main things that I'm not okay with regarding this. First off, they interrupted Charlotte's moment. And by having John Cena running up the ramp, and because he was informed that there were news regarding his challenge his challenge to the Undertaker. So it's not cool to have, like, to speak about the women's revolution and then just stomp all over the women's revolution time. It's women, like, they already have their struggles, so be less of a dude and try to protect this a little bit more. You could have done this. I'm gonna say not having done this on the Charlotte match, you could have done this with after Jinder, for instance. It would have been enough time to I understand that, like, Jinder would then kick or at least attack John Cena or something, and Charlotte wouldn't, but still, like, if you're going to step over anyone's championship, let it be a dude, not the women's championship. Okay, so that's my first problem with this, and I have not seen this mentioned anywhere, so dudes, be a little bit more respectful of their time and their work and their space, and time and space and work and their money as well. So time equals money equals space equals comedy equals time, and then equals tragedy in the end. Okay, so and then we'll have the Undertaker to take us under, literally. So, and yet my second problem with this was that the Undertaker was, because he can't. I understand that they can't book him like a really big match because, and you know where I'm going with this. The thing is that I know that Undertaker can't really move. I'm sorry, Undertaker can't really move, and John Cena is really on the way out of wrestling and has won enough. Like, if anyone has had screen time and has been carried by the company and merits, with his merits, big match John is a thing. John Cena has had amazing matches for a long time now, ever since the CM Punk days, and I've spoken about this, I don't know, a lot of them were Randy Orton, sure, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Triple H, who else, Kevin Owens, many amazing matches, AJ Styles in recent years, dude, that was absolutely phenomenal. The phenomenal one, yes. The phenomenal AJ Styles, yeah. I'm no pun intended, but I'll go with now it was intended. Okay, so but it just took, I get all of these things, but a squash match for 3 minutes, like it's nothing. It's literally underwhelming, makes no sense, just defeats the purpose, and does nothing for the Undertaker, doesn't hurt the reputation of John Cena, but isn't good booking, I think. So I disagree with a lot of people on this one. Okay, so because it means nothing, it's irrelevant, and it should have it mean something. We should have it mean something. Okay, so tag team match between Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And if I hate this. I hate saying Cammy. WWE tried to make this a thing, and it doesn't. It's not good, guys. It's not good. Okay, I love Kevin Owens and I love Sami Zayn, and I didn't want them to leave the company or not be hired, because as if they were really fired. But they have been fired from SmackDown, and if they lost, they would remain. Really unemployed, which is more than unemployed. And they were fired from SmackDown, and they would be unemployed even more, I guess. They would stay unemployed. And probably are going to join Raw, but then they apparently didn't because they both got counted out in a match in which they. We'll see where they go with this, but obviously they're not getting fired from the company. So I was expecting Kevin. Oh, by the way, Undertaker versus John Cena, of course, the Undertaker. Bludgeon Brothers, I was going to go with Bludgeon Brothers, and Ronda Rousey obviously had to win. So yeah. So, and this one, Daniel Bryan's coming back, and one of the all-time greats. Absolutely amazing guy, absolutely amazing wrestler, and really, really relatable. I apologize. Sorry, guys. See, I'm not so good. And I thought, where were they going? Where are they going with this? Because they can't, they have to reinstate Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn really soon, because they're two of the most talented guys on the roster, and in the world, really. And but then again, you can't have Daniel Bryan with the whole story of him coming back after possibly never wrestling again. Having Bryan not win. So what are you going? How did they do this? They just did. And it was amazing that Bryan, they took him out. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn took Daniel Bryan out of the match for the longest time, which was like a tease, which was like, oh, now he's coming back, but again, he's destroyed, so he can't, maybe we're not going to see him wrestle again. But when he did come back after coming back from the injuries, or the attack at least, in the early match, he hasn't missed a beat, guys. He's like doing missile dropkicks and stuff like that, which may give him concussions again, but hopefully not. But yeah, so doing really dangerous things and extremely exciting. Awesome. Again, this is 3 matches still. Oh shit. Okay, so Raw Women's Championship match. Nia Jax defeats Alexa Bliss, destroys Mickie James, becomes a new champion. This is where they had to go. They bullied her. They called her fat. It was not cool unless it's never cool, but it wouldn't really be cool if they didn't put the belt on her. And it's about time, and it's a vindication story, and it's I think Nia Jax is finally going to be champion, and a good champion at that. So again, 3 matches still. Shit. Wow. I've been saying this for a while. I can't count anymore. Okay. WWE Championship match. SmackDown title. AJ Styles defends against Shinsuke Nakamura. And the thing is, and by now, if you haven't, it's on YouTube somewhere, or you just subscribe to New Japan and go watch that. But the old matches between AJ Styles and Nakamura, which were like in 2015, I think, so kind of recent matches, were outstanding, and you should go watch those, because that match in particular, before AJ and Shinsuke come to the WWE, is absolutely amazing. I think it was 2015, because it was, I think, in Wrestle Kingdom in early January, and then AJ's contract finished and he entered the Royal Rumble that year, I think. AJ, there's not a wrong decision with putting the belt on AJ Styles or Nakamura, but Nakamura hasn't really, gotten over as much. He's really, really over, but not as much as the wrestling aspect of it, or at least the matches. The matches haven't been that good. Not that good. They've been very. They're never anything less than acceptable. Even the gender ones. There was one gender one which was really bad. But Nakamura matches are really always very good. But because the same with AJ Styles, you can't go wrong. But still, they've been a little bit underwhelming. So it's not necessarily the right time for Nakamura to be champion, because even though it kind of bums me out, and again, no one has been saying this, it kind of bums me out that neither Asuka or Shinsuke Nakamura became champions, and they're both Japanese, and they both can't really speak English that well, and I think that's the main reason, and I don't want to be offensive, but I think that's the main reason that the WWE haven't made them champions yet. Honestly, I think it's not necessarily a race thing or a racist thing as it's been in the past, like, oh, they can only work as heels because they're foreign. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think they can't really cut promos that well, and I think that you can be champion without speaking, but in days like these times, it's really difficult. So because there's a lot of press that you need to do, I guess, and a lot of stuff that you need to speak about, but if they can't learn English, then have them learn English. Stop that fucking difficult. They're Japanese. It's much more complicated language. Anyway. So they're turning Nakamura heel, and I think that's a good decision, because I think that might be the boost that Shinsuke needs for going up to that plateau. I mean, it's really peak, I think, in the WWE. Like, he's not a young dude, has been around for a long time. New Japan stuff is fantastic, and he's a living legend, and so is AJ. But I think that the heel Nakamura is going to be like, this is the feud that is going to be really remembered, I think. So look out for the WWE in the next few months. Okay, so 2 last matches. I've been speaking for an hour almost. Last 2 matches, yeah. Okay, so Raw Tag Team Championship match, which is The Bar, Cesaro, and Sheamus defending against Braun Strowman and a mystery partner. And the thing is that, The Bar are a really, really good tag team. Sheamus is a brute, is like a huge beast of a dude with a really, really stupid haircut, and Cesaro is one of the best wrestlers in the world. So like a talent, like a magnificent. Magnificent. How do I say this? Wonder of nature, so to speak. So and they're finally doing something with Cesaro, and they made Sheamus interesting again. So and The Bar have been really, really the workhorses of some of the workhorses of the WWE. And the thing is that Braun Strowman, because they didn't really know what to do with him, and they didn't want to put him in the title race yet, even though he should be champion at this point. Again, much like Rusev, he doesn't do anything wrong, is basically destroys, and is hilarious as well. So what did the WWE do? Like, he's been destroying the tag team division, which sucks already. Like, because he's burying like the whole division. It's bad enough as it is, and because of bad booking, not because of lack of talent. Because come on, like who do we have? Like, okay, The Bar are excellent, the Revival are excellent. Who else is there? There's Heath Slater and Rhino, who are like, I guess, the jobbers now. And who else? I'm forgetting this. There was Rollins and the fakes. Jason Jordan. No, Jason Jordan. Yeah, Jason Jordan, and who's injured, and but there's the Club, there's Gallows and Anderson. So I mean, what are you doing? There's enough to go around, like, and now you have the Authors of Pain, spoiler, who are again like the new Legion of Doom, more or less, without the insane promo abilities of a cocaine hawk. And I mean this literally and figuratively as well. So imagine like a cocaine hawk, the animal, not animal of the Legion of Doom or Road Warriors. This is getting very confusing. Okay, so so the thing is what they did, and this, I know that the suspension of disbelief, this really hurts the division, really hurts Cesaro and Sheamus, but this has to be from Vince McMahon. There is no other way that at least with his because it's too far-fetched, too weird, but I love this. I was laughing the whole time. It was extremely exciting. Like, who's Braun's partner? And he just walks out and says, well, and really good promo, by the way. The way he speaks and addresses the crowd, really cool, really talented. And he's like, oh, you want to know who my mystery partner is? Well, he's not backstage, and he's not inside this ring as well either. And or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. He's one of you, and we're like, what? And everyone's expecting for Braun to pick a wrestler that's standing, ringside or something. Like John Cena was there. No Way Jose was there. And there were more people. There were more wrestlers, and he picks out a 10-year-old kid named Nicolas. This is so absurd that it's just absolutely hilarious. Wrestling is not to be taken too seriously. If there's any one activity where stuff like this can happen, and when ludicrous and where ludicrous things can happen, is the WWE. And I think that that's why we love wrestling. It's because it's so ludicrous. I mean, it's a 10-year-old kid, and of course Braun basically destroys the bar, not destroys the bar, but wins the match. And it's kind of went kind of balanced for a while for what it was, and it was not a squash match, but he won fairly easily, and Nicolas is a tag team champion, and they just gave up the belts the night afterwards, which makes even less sense. So I don't know. I'm down with this. This is very fun, and now we can have a tag team tournament, which can boost up the whole division. So cool, awesome. We could have done this with good booking, but still. Okay, I apologize to Club Cheval because we're an hour into the show, and it's never this long, and I apologize to you if you're trying to listen to Club Cheval. I hope that you've fast forward this to the interview part, which has literally nothing to do with this. So but this one is the last match. It's the Universal Championship match featuring Brock Lesnar, the champion, the Raw champion, versus Roman Reigns, and this has been years in the build-up, years building up, I mean. And because it's the whole Roman Reigns is the guy now, and he's Vince McMahon's preferred guy, and he's getting like this huge monumental push, and even to the point of not making any sense, and he's a guy with like 7 moves, and not necessarily the most amazing personality in terms of charisma, but still a good worker. Amazing looks, really good at what he does. Like those 7 moves are really good, and in terms of power spots, he's really good, and but not necessarily the most versatile. But then again, if you look at the Undertaker wasn't really that versatile either. Like had like 15 moves like his whole career maybe, and Brock Lesnar, who has plenty of moves, doesn't necessarily use them so much because he doesn't need to, and this match has been criticized for having been to one note, like kind of redundant, and like kind of repetitive, because it was always the same moves. But then again, I think that's mostly most of Roman Reigns' matches are like that, and especially when it's down to Roman Reigns, and not necessarily Brock. Brock is like more like destruction and havoc and power moves, unless there's a Kimura, which even then is like a submission, like it's I'm going to kill you submission, much like the Ronda Rousey. I forgot to mention Ronda Rousey's initial flurry. Like she gets in the ring and she destroys like Stephanie McMahon for a minute, and that's just perfect booking. Just like and the execution, like we're going to have Ronda Rousey for a long time, guys. She is the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. So yeah, I'm very happy that
that we have like this equivalent now in her own right, of course. And but this Brock versus Roman match really had a build up, like we found out last year, guys, that that this was going to be the main event, which is kind of like, oh no, not again, really, where's the excitement? But I understand the commercial logic behind all this, because you need to kind of announce and start like a motivation and start selling tickets like immediately, and that's why these rumors come out. But yeah, that's really where they went with this. Everyone knew that's where they were going with this, but everyone thought that Roman was going to win. And he did not, because you know, he had been built up for it until this point, and Brock was supposedly going back to the UFC for a couple more matches, maybe, which would take like a 1-2 year stint, maybe. But he just re-signed with WWE, so he hasn't. So and he retained the title, and again. Okay, so people and the crowd was not happy with the result, because they do not enjoy someone that's leaving, taking the belt. And this has happened with Brock before, and I don't need to tell you this probably. Okay, but the my opinion is that the main event, this is the sort of main event that only the WWE can pull off, and they do it really better than anyone, because it's the main event featuring, you know, the beasts. And I don't mean just Brock Lesnar here. I mean the huge guys, and having even like Braun Strowman. You don't have a Braun Strowman like anywhere else. Okay, you have Lars Sullivan on NXT, but still he's being worked. He's being developed still. But there's not like worldwide, I don't think, like a main event scene that's not based in juniors or farmer juniors, much like in Japan, which is, again, New Japan shows are better. The quality is better, the storylines are better, are prettier even, are pretty storylines, which is weird for wrestling. But still, we're talking about the WWE here, and they do offer something that no one else does. So Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns was high octane, really exciting for 15 minutes. Because everyone thought Roman was gonna win, and he only was pinned after 6 F5s, so 6 finishers, which is ridiculous considering Samoa Joe gets beaten with 1, so he should have done like 3 or 4. 6 is way too much, but then again, it's exciting. We thought, how is he going to win after this? And after being bust open hard ways, much like Randy Orton was a few months ago, so he just got elbowed, and just got cut on the forehead. Roman was by Brock, and Roman was dripping blood, like a curtain of crimson blood all over his face. Like the image, this was gory as shit. It was really, really, really like a strong image. So I think they pulled it off really well. I think it was a swerve. No one was expecting this. Of course I'm fine with, a dude like Brock Lesnar having the belt, even though it's been enough of him being an absent champion. I kind of want my champion to be around more often, and but still, I think it was really entertaining. The match was really fantastic. Even though it was, repetitive, I don't care. It was, those power moves, and there was a particular spot in which Brock Lesnar, right at the beginning of the match, just kind of belly to back suplexes, more like a throw, really, throws Roman face first against the table, against the edge of the table. That was scary as fuck. Like he just like he barely flipped like Roman did. Like he was just like went face first into the wrestling table, the comments table. It was scary. Okay. That was my take on the WWE's WrestleMania 34. It was just the whole 1 hour and 5 minutes of it. And one last thing is, I think just like much like this episode. No, but more much like but not much like. But as I said before, like 7 hours of an event is way too long, and I think the crowd were just like exhausted from the first moment. I mean, or at least in the main show, because I didn't watch the pre-show. I think they were exhausted and were like just kind of flatlined, really. I don't think the crowd were really that much, or at least the WWE did a really poor job in terms of getting the audio over to the and I was watching it live, so I actually did fall asleep right before the angle, the Ronda Rousey match, and but I did watch the next day on the network. So but I think the crowd were exhausted and they weren't really popping for anything, so I kind of I think they were a big part of why the show was boring in many segments. But it's a 7 hour long show, or at least if you like, the main show is 5 hours. What can you keep up for 5 hours? I mean, for that long, like, people will get tired. But I think it should be, I don't know, man. I think that maybe they could overbook this a little more, instead of spreading out stuff. People do need bathroom breaks and need to go grab something to eat. So I don't know, maybe I'm talking out my ass, but yeah, and if you're watching at home, then you can I guess pause things and go about your business and come back, and there's plenty of time, even if you're watching at home, to just watch the whole thing live. Like, for instance, I missed at the beginning, when I missed the women's battle royal, which was what I could watch live on the network. In between the first and the second matches, which were already undergoing, I had enough time to go watch the women's battle royal. So in between the other two matches, because the promo package times were so long. Okay, but that's enough WrestleMania. That's enough wrestling. That's really enough wrestling. I maybe only will talk about wrestling again in the summer, and maybe just to address a couple things regarding New Japan. But yeah, let's try to keep this out of our ways and out of our system for the time being. So this chat we had with Club, this, at least this was just me, with Club Cheval, was in Nós Alive in 2016, guys. I know, but still, again, it's not album related, so who cares? Not so much. Like, the album is called Discipline, like the King Crimson one. Yep, King Crimson again on the show. And so we talked to Panteros, Sam Tiba, Can Blaster, and Mid. And I tried to do this with the French accent, and it was fun. Like, we had fun. It was I don't know. We had we spoke about video games and the Dutch trance music and Chopin, and a lot of video game talk. And there is unfortunately something on during this interview, if you want to call it that, which is because there are four guys. I was passing around the recorder. They asked if they could grab the recorder from me, which is something you should not do as a presenter, but or as a host. or as an interviewer, but we did do this, and because they were kind of spread far apart, and some of them, and one of them pressed the record button, pressed the recorder, like pressed the button on the recorder, I mean, and it stopped recording. So after after like 15 minutes or something, like the last 5 minutes or something, it's the audio from the cam source, not the audio from the recorder. So it will be very difficult to understand, and I apologize, but I'm still going to go with this because we were talking about video games, and we were talking about Panteros has a video online where someone asks him pourquoi les mecs préfèrent les enquininos, and which is why do the guys prefer the I guess the translation would be like the superfluous ones or the bitchy ones. I can't really translate this from French, but and it's a fun video if you understand a little bit of French. And so I asked Panteros this, and this. I asked Panteros this, and this again, this. And the answer isn't really you can't really hear the answer, I think, but you can with some effort. It wasn't really terrible, but it was kind of terrible after, like, I think the 8th minute, I think, of the convo. Okay, so guys, please follow us after an hour and 10 minutes or something. Yeah, exactly, an hour and 10 minutes. Please follow us on social media, such as Instagram, which is fun, on Facebook, which is not so much fun, but still fun, on Twitter, which is kind of for a joke, and as a joke, and I need to go have dinner now, and I'm getting extremely tired of speaking, and it's been quite a while. I can't really do this joke. It's Comedy Bang Bangs, but yeah, it's and there's a website coming very soon. So spoiler. I'm getting exhausted. Please, guys, enjoy this convo with Club Cheval. Hope you come back soon. Bye. And sorry that we're not doing this in French as well, because my French is a little rusty. It's been quite a while since I've spoken
but
French.
But you speak French a bit, no?
It may be, and we'll see.
Because we heard a lot of people speaking French, so...
a lot of people speak French, but I choose to professionally try not to speak French, because you know what happened? I went to live in Italy, and I suddenly stopped being able to speak French and Spanish.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
yeah.
so because all that comes out is Italian, really.
Yeah.
But
you can do it in English too.
Oh, awesome. So guys, because this also has an audio format, can you introduce yourselves, please?
Yeah, I'm Panteros from Club Cheval.
Hi, I'm Sam Tiba.
Hi, I'm Ken Blaster.
And I'm Mid.
And welcome. We have Club Cheval. So how are you guys? How are you? Are you excited about playing in Portugal?
Yeah, a lot. We came there 2-3 years ago, I think. 4 years ago.
4 years ago we came here, but as DJs.
Okay. Where? You remember?
Here at the same stage. That was the year when there was Justice, so I think 2012. And yeah, we're super happy to be here. The weather is great. Everybody seems to already be enjoying the festival. So we're really excited about tonight. There's a great lineup too.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're gonna stay all night and see some concerts.
Awesome. Do you guys remember anything about over here from that show? From that show and just being around Lisbon, really.
The show was great. I remember Justice show because we arrived quite late. I don't remember much. I think that means that was a good party if I don't remember what happened.
So it's usually a good sign, right?
Yeah, that's a good sign.
It's a good sign. That's a good sign. So, and you guys, that's one thing. You know, when bands have instruments like typical rock instruments with bass, guitar, and drums. everybody knows what, or pretty much you can tell what they're doing. But with an electronic band, it's more difficult to understand what people are doing. So, would you describe your roles in the band? What do you guys do in the band? Really?
Actually, we chose to perform something that people can visually understand.
Okay.
At just one glance. So we kind of came back to the rock basics of a band, even though we have nothing to do with rock, musically speaking.
We have somewhat to do, even though it's house. Most of it.
Well, there's no like acoustic guitar and stuff like that. But Mid is doing like the bass and leads, for example. Can Blaster is playing the piano, so all the chords. Sam is using the voice. Makes all like the. We have different sources for every sound, but he's doing all the voices and I'm doing all the beats and percussions and groove. Yeah.
So there is structure then.
Yeah,
so it's not an inadequate question.
You're gonna see tonight, and you actually can understand what people do pretty easily.
Cool, awesome. Because I haven't seen you guys live yet, so that's why I was kind of curious. So okay. So for instance, the two first singles off the new album. So it's Young, Rich, and Radical, and Discipline. So would you say that they're kind of like about the same thing, but then you choose to have like the same thing in terms of the way you act or way someone acts or looks at life, and then for instance, why the word discipline? That's what I'm thinking. So that this. Why the word discipline?
Tu veux le faire ou...
Non.
Where's the discipline in all of this?
The discipline was... We thought about that word when we starting working on the album. The discipline was everywhere. You had to have a discipline for your ideas, because when you come from different backgrounds like us, it's hard not to go in every place, and to lose yourself in a too big amount of ideas. So that was the first discipline. Then we're really hard with each other. Work wise. So if you're late, you're bashed. If you do a bad thing, you're bashed in a nice way. But that's also discipline. And we kind of realized that discipline was the actual key to freedom. Because once you master all your demons, I would say, you're free to do whatever you want, and in a good and healthy way. And that's what happened with Club Cheval. That's why the album took so long to do, because we had to find that work discipline for the process of making the album. So that's why it's called Discipline.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. But what did you decide? For instance, you were saying that we have these places that we didn't want to go. What were these places like? What did you just say like, oh, we're not going to do this?
Well, it's mostly about the creative process of the album, where we like a lot of stuff, and we've always been really open-minded with Club Cheval in terms of like, we don't have any genre we have on a pedestal or taboos, musical taboos. So I listen to a lot of like Dutch trance, and I think it's as worthwhile as Chopin or things like that, So we could have gone like in many different ways, and maybe have something that was creatively all over the place.
Sure.
So we were like, okay, we're just gonna focus on some style we love and that's gonna be interesting to work on together, and that was like American R&B, like more like 90s and more modern forms of R&B. So that was like a discipline to just stick to that, and just have like a coherent style among all the tracks, because we could have gone like us, the four of us, we could have gone like totally like crazy different ways. So yeah.
Because at first, the first thing I remember you releasing, I think, was Now You Realize, and that's where reminds me of early Prodigy, for instance, totally. Which is like which is completely different than what you're doing now, for instance.
production and stuff.
For me, actually, Prodigy is more an influence for the live show that you're going to see tonight, for example, in terms of energy than what we try to do on the disc, you know.
Oh no, absolutely.
And the idea was we wanted to do something for the disc that was something you can listen to at home, you know, and you can come to the show and it's like a remix in a way of the disc, and it's more about Club Cheval, like the way it has always been, you know, about like making people dance, about club music, and about high energy and high emotions in the dance situation, you know. And so we wanted to come back to this feeling that we had on Now You Realize, you know,
Absolutely.
with the live show as well.
Absolutely. And while we're on that, this is for a show called Made of Things. So it's based on the idea that people, you know, are doing art and doing music or whatever they're doing, but that because they listened to or saw something or read something that made them go, I want to do this forever or for as long as I can. Did you have that, and what was it?
I think we all have had different moments. First for our solo careers. I think for me it was seeing a DVD of Fatboy Slim
Really?
DJing on the beach. I don't know. Mine was gonna. Mine was
for everyone, obviously.
Mine was going to. I think I was going to see Diplo play in Paris. 2006 or something.
For me, when I was young, I did music for video games.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and the guys, but it was really amateur, you know. But you could send it to other guys, and they could play your music like in the rhythm, you know. They were supposed to hit the keys all the time. And
like what? Like 8-bit music?
no, a bit later, around that, like a bit everything, like the late 90s electronic music, as weird as possible. But it was more about like the fact that I could do that from my home, and another person could like you know, share the same connection through that music. That was important, and I thought like as a like teenager I can do that, so let's try to do that as a job or something later.
And are you still into video games, by the way, now?
Yeah, but we all play video games.
What do you guys play before you get to
I mostly play for the Naughty Dog releases.
I'm sorry, what?
The Naughty Dog studio releases. Like Uncharted and and Last of Us.
That's really good.
Crash Bandicoot and some like High School Vibes.
Yeah, it's I mean, you kind of grew up on that. What are you guys playing now? Uncharted.
I've just finished an old RPG on PS1
Oh, really?
I'm playing
I've never played it.
and I'm playing a new game called Gravity Rush.
Gravity Rush. Okay.
It just came out.
I've heard about it, but I haven't played it. I'm excited about the new Red Dead Redemption coming.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, next year. What about you guys?
For now, I'm playing a game Sam told me to play too. It's a really indie game like Last of Us.
Oh, it's yeah.
It's really, really good. It's half like reading a weird novel, half playing a game, so it's different. So, and I believe the Division. I have the same taste in movies and video games. I love like really indie games, and I love mainstream AAA.
Have you tried Fez?
Oh yeah.
Fez is amazing. I love Fez.
I love that. It's pretty hard at some point.
And Rogue Legacy as well.
Yeah.
Rogue Legacy is amazing. Without seeing complete.
Me actually, I don't have a new generation PlayStation or Xbox. I have his PS3 at home.
That's what I play, so.
Nice. But I only play old games. So like I play like yesterday I played Sonic. I still play like.
Awesome.
Sometimes I go to the arcades to play like still rhythm games. You know, there was a new one I tried yesterday. I didn't know that, where it's actually a piano, a full like scale, and you have to hit it in rhythm. Yeah, it's like it's a new one.
That's perfect.
It's like a version of an old one called Cheval Wrestlemania.
Oh, really?
And the last one that really struck me was Undertaker.
Oh, I'm like a third into Undertaker.
You have to finish it.
Yes. It's just
The end. Shovel Knight.